I've been in real estate and real estate lead generation for 7 years. And as a result, I've been very fortunate to be a direct part of generating several thousands of real estate transactions all over the world, mostly in Canada and the US. I've personally helped as direct clients over 700 agents. And if you factor in the 30-some thousand people that follow me on YouTube, the number is much higher. I've also spent over $12 million of my clients' money and also my own money on online lead generation. So if you're here, it's your lucky day because I'm going to try and give away everything I know about this industry and what I've learned over the years of working with several very successful people, very successful teams. So let's get into the things that I think are really hypercritical for anyone to be successful in this industry. The first thing I'm going to talk about is online presence. We've all heard about this. You guys are watching me right now on YouTube, so you're probably privy to my online presence at least a little bit. The general idea is if in today's market, you're not searchable online, you can kind of be invisible. Now, it's not to say it's required, but what people will often do before they actually pick up their phone and engage with you is they will look you up. And if they don't like what they see, you're actually leaving a lot of opportunities on the table by not putting the time and energy to clean up your online presence. So what do I mean by online presence? Well, generally, Google My Business is number one. When people search your name, I mean, go to Google, search Eric Preston, you'll find a whole bunch of stuff about me. It's very much just me at this point. I remember when I started out, there was like Eric Preston photography, there were some other Eric Prestons out there. But now if you search Agent Launch or you search Eric Preston, like it's just us. We've kind of dominated that search more or less. And that's what you want for your name. So when someone searches you online, they should see your Google My Business, they should see your website, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your social media, and they should also see 5 yellow stars. Now, the reason this is so important is some people just glance over this stuff, right? But you need to have your Google My Business filled out. I have a video on the channel of how to do that in full, and make sure you have reviews and make sure you're prioritizing collecting reviews because people will write you off today in an instant. And the example or the analogy I like to give is think of the last time you bought a product on Amazon. How many reviews did you read? Maybe it was 4.3 out of 5, maybe it was 4.5 out of 5. You read some reviews, you probably looked for some bad ones to get a sense of what did these people say about this product? Did they just have an issue with the shipping? Okay, not a big deal. It probably doesn't happen to most people. Was it something silly that you can just get over? Or was it, hey, this product actually sucked? Maybe it was just a one-off thing, but you kind of make a judgment call on that product by reading the reviews. Now, people do this for, a little scrub brush for the kitchen or something really random and, not that consequential. So what are they going to do when they're looking for help of the person who's going to help them buy the biggest thing they're ever going to buy? They're going to read all of your reviews, and people will read all of my reviews at Agent Launch before they sign up. And I encourage them to go to Trustpilot, check us out. You can read reviews there if you're interested in working with us. And I'll get into more of what that looks like later. But the point is people will read all of them, and they should. So make sure that they're there. And if you only have 2 or 3 reviews, it's hard to get a sense of who you are and what you're all about. So making sure your online presence is clean and tidy is a worthwhile expedition for anyone. Because at the end of the day, if it is clean and tidy and it looks good, they will be more inclined to answer your phone or reply to your emails when they see that, hey, you're probably a legitimate agent. If they can't find anything about you online, they may be like, hey, this isn't the person for me. I want to work with someone who has a little bit more experience. And fair enough, you probably would too. The second thing I want to talk about is leverage video now, as instead of being forced to do it later and play catch up. The amount of people I've talked to that just say, man, I wish I got into YouTube earlier. Now, the thing I will be cautious about here is if you're not the type to be on camera, don't do video. Don't force it, because I've worked with a lot of people over the years who forced it. And the theme I've noticed is they never stick to it. So if you're going to do it, great, but you need to stick to it long term and not expect results. And you need to be having the mindset of just constantly improving your game over time so that you get better and better and better. And I've worked with students that I've coached on this who kind of sucked at first. And now 2 years later, they're actually quite good and they're making really cool videos and they're getting traction in business. But it took them a long time because they were not a natural. But it's not normal for someone who's not a natural to continue on that long. And I say natural lightly, I was never a natural. A lot of people are not naturals. They just work at it. Generally speaking, you're not born to be on YouTube. You have to work at it. You have to work this skill set. I mean, I worked for another company in this industry and I was their public speaker. I would literally go out to real estate brokerages and I would present in front of anywhere from 10 to 200 people on how to run Facebook ads. Better to work at it early on and get used to doing it early on than being forced to do it later, especially if you're young and you like this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people in this industry who are just not going to do the video thing. The big thing with video though is don't let it distract you from sales. Number 3 is speed, patience, and persistence. Now, I chose these words very, very carefully. In real estate, sales cycles are long, okay? They just are. It kind of sucks. Honestly, it's a bit of the bane of my existence. If I was in, dental marketing, I could run ads, I could get people into your dental office tomorrow or the next day and they'd be paying for a cleaning. But in real estate, you run ads, you generate leads, and then they buy in a year. Sometimes in 3 months, sometimes in 6, sometimes in 3 years. It is just the nature of our industry. So when I say speed, patience, and persistence, I mean speed to lead. When you generate leads, you have to be fast. You have to have notifications coming to your phone so that you can be on top of these leads as soon as they come in. I cannot stress this enough. Speed to lead is one of the most important things. It always has been, and it still is today. The second thing is patience. The amount of people I've worked with and talked to who've had leads, who've had them on the hook for like a year, and then they end up buying and selling like a $3-4 million home. And then that agent makes $100K from that one lead who they've been working for like a year. You need to have patience. People are going to, moving obviously is a big deal, and people are not just going to do it off the cuff. So you need to have the patience and the persistence to stay with people no matter what, knowing that you're going to lose some of them. You're going to probably talk to some people for a year and they're not going to transact with you, and that's going to suck. But you're also going to talk to other people for a year and they're going to end up doing something really big with you, and then they're going to refer you to someone else. And you're going to be like, wow, that was incredibly worth it. The ROI on that lead was insane. And that's the cool thing about real estate. The fact that you nurtured that person for so long, you had patience and persistence, you didn't give up on them, made you a lot of money. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, is they don't have the patience and persistence. A lot of people can get behind the speed, but they don't have the patience and persistence. So this is really, I think, everything in real estate. So not just reaching out once or twice and hoping for the best. I mean, if you actually really look at the numbers, it's usually the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th time you try and contact someone that you actually get in contact with them and start building that relationship. But most people give up after just a few tries. What I will say is I promise you people are paying attention, whether they signal to you that they're paying attention or not. Most people on social media and on the internet are passive observers. They do not engage with emails, engage with social posts. They just watch. And so a lot of times when you're sending emails, you're not getting responses, you're making social posts and you're saying, oh, I'm not getting a ton of traction with this. People are paying attention, I promise you. And something's going to happen down the road. Interest rates are going to get cut. Something's going to change. A life event's going to happen. And they're going to say, hey, Eric, I've been following you for a while. I want to start getting serious here and going and looking at homes. An example of this is one of my clients earlier this year. I think there was a rate cut or something earlier in this year. Something happened and she had 5 leads reach out to her that were 2 years old. 5 people within a matter of a couple days. And she actually closed 3 out of 5 of those people. So these were old leads who had been following her emails, following her social media, and not engaging with her at all. And they just came out of the woodwork. And I think she ended up making like 70 or 80K off of those. So it happens. You just got to be patient and have persistence to keep going, because it's not always going to be obvious when people are paying attention. I have a really cool video about this specifically. Just comment leads below. I can send that over to you where we go into a little bit more detail. Now, number 4 is basically becoming the local expert, okay? Like, what is your value? Think about that. What is your value to someone? What is your unique selling proposition? Well, oftentimes it's simply becoming the go-to local expert. If you just moved to your city, you're going to have a lot less value to someone who's moving there and doesn't know it that well. You're not the local expert yet. And people want to work with the local expert. They want to know that you've been in the business for a while. You've seen the trends, you've seen the growth, you've seen where things are happening, and you can advise them on that. You can also advise them, if you're doing something new construction, you can advise them how the process is different. You can advise them about, school districts and many other things. And so every real estate market is unique. So you need to be perceived as a specialist in what you're selling. And that's where content really matters, is like when people look you up and they see that you're talking about the details, that stuff really, really matters, right? When they see you have videos going into the nitty-gritty details about an area, it shows that you are an expert who they can rely on to ask questions to help navigate the process. Generally speaking, that starts with honing in on one area. Now, most people have the, I think, flawed mindset that if I really niche down and try and focus on one area, I'm going to miss out on all this business in other places, but it doesn't actually work that way. The funny thing about getting really specific is you actually end up standing out in that area more than other agents, because most other people are too scared to commit to like specialization. And what happens is people start asking you if you want to work in, if you do work in these other areas, because they've been really impressed with what you've been talking about this one area. They might be looking in that one area at one time and then they decide to buy somewhere else. It's just how things work, because there's a lot of overlap in real estate. So you want to be the go-to expert in your area. And if you're like hey, I serve all of Austin. It's not as powerful if you say, hey, I serve North Austin and I focus on Round Rock and the surrounding areas, and that's just my niche. That's what I know really well. That's where I live. That's where I operate my day to day. It's like I trust you more than someone who's just kind of all over Austin. And so on top of that, number 5 is actually very similar, but it's specializing in a niche. So what I mean by that is like niche marketing has been really, really great for me over my career. I've done it a few times. Today, the niche that Agent Launches in is in new construction. So we're building out our new website, newconstructionhomes.com, and that's going to be our big future project. And so if you are in the new construction niche, definitely reach out to us. We have a exclusivity offer where you can kind of own certain areas in your market and the leads we generate there, specifically for new homes. And new homes is about 33% of the US market right now. So it's actually a huge niche. But for you as agents, this is also a really good niche to look at. Is specializing in a niche can set you apart in a crowded market, because if you're, say, a new home specialist and you come from a background, let's say, of working for builders, and you know the process that builders go through, you know that they have inventory that's not listed publicly, you know that they have incentives that they might be able to revive. Think of the value that that adds for your client. If you work with just a generalist agent, you start looking at a new home community with a lot of new homes, and that agent doesn't have a relationship with the builder. They don't know what incentives they have or what they had, 2 weeks ago. They don't know what inventory isn't listed on MLS. They don't have insider knowledge or early access to units before they hit the market. You don't have as much value to that person. So if you do specialize in, say, new homes or some other niche, some people like to specialize in move up, move down, condos. Like there's lots of things you can specialize in. The new home market I really love because it is quite different. There is a process that you need to be privy to of like building and how things develop across that process. And you also need to be privy to the process of doing final walkthroughs and like holding the builders accountable and working with the builders and how that works and working with builder financing options. And there's so many things. And also like the build quality, like you need to be privy to like what energy efficiencies they have and like how they compare to other builders. And there's just so many things to be aware of in the new home niche that being a specialist allows you to add more value to your client by having that insider knowledge, that insider access to units that are coming soon, to information that another agent might not be able to provide. And so by doing that, it allows you to also create content along that niche. So if you say have a YouTube channel where you do walkthroughs of homes that are under construction and you speak intelligently to the build process and to the construction, like that's going to make you stand out as an expert. If you walk around the new home neighborhood and show people the ongoing development of it and where are the amenities and those things, like you start to become known as like the new home person. And that's who we're trying to work with right now, is finding the best specialists in each market for new homes so that we can send leads that come to us and say, hey, I want to work with the new home specialist, and we can actually send them to a new home specialist, because there's just a lot you can do within a niche. Now, my niche, for example, on this channel was Google ads in the start, right? I know I had a background in Facebook ads. If you go way back in my channel, I made a lot of general videos that did quite well on Facebook ads, Google ads, Facebook pixels, all that. But then I realized my content was a little too broad. Like I needed to be speaking to my audience, which was real estate. And so over the past few years, I've had the number 1 or number 2 video on Google ads for real estate. We also do CRM comparisons, and we've niched into that. The reason we do those things is because people are searching for them and they need help with them. And we have a pretty good knowledge of these things that we can help with. And we try to just lead with value. Because of that, people come to us and they end up working with us because they realize, hey, we're a legitimate agency. We've been around a long time, and we actually have a pretty awesome product, where a lot of agencies out there, it can be questionable at best. Number 6 is build and nurture your network. Now, your network is your net worth in real estate. And you've probably heard that before, but cultivating relationships is, generally speaking, one of the most important things you can do. Lenders, contractors, inspectors, other agents, you name it, builders, and basically keeping in touch with these people regularly to foster and nurture those relationships. Now, partly on your business side, having these relationships is essentially to provide the value to your client. To say, hey, I have experts in every area that I trust, that I've vetted for you. That's part of your value proposition, right? But also just networking from a stance of like knowing people in the community, networking with local business owners, like becoming a known figure, a known face, and networking with your clients, holding client appreciation events. And you need to focus on continually growing your network and your reputation. And over time, that's going to result in where I work with a lot of people who they're at that place in their career where they've been doing it a long time. Majority of their business is repeat and referral. and they don't have to go hunting leads as much anymore because they've built such a good network. They are just having business come to them. And I think that's the dream for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people get gung-ho on building a massive team, and that's really hard, and that's really hard to maintain, and retention's a huge problem in real estate. I work with a lot of team leads. I've had a lot of churn in the last couple of years because it's just been a tough market. It's been really hard to keep people. And frankly, I don't think that building a real estate team is the best business model. I don't actually think that it's easy at all. It's very hard. And a lot of team leaders are very stressed and very busy. And so, you know, sometimes in real estate, a great business is where you can get to that 500K a year and maintain it. You know, you grind it out for a few years, and then you get to the 5-year point, you're kind of building a small team and building leverage around you. And then you might get to a point in 10 years where you're like, okay, I have a lot of business kind of just coming to me, and you don't have to work that hard for it anymore. And you know the business so well, you can streamline certain things. That's the dream for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people think they want to build a team, but they end up building a team, realizing it's not for them, winding that down and going back to being, you know, solo agent or a small team with some leverage around them. So the last one, number 7, is focus on sales, don't outsource it. So my motto here is personalize your sales, automate your operations. So what I mean by that is nobody likes making phone calls. Let's be honest. Nobody likes cold calling. Nobody likes prospecting. That's not a fun activity, but it is the main activity as a real estate agent. Spin real estate however you want. Prospecting is your number one objective. It is your number one task. I don't believe in outsourcing that. There's a certain point where you can build a really big team, and you can have a client care ISA team. You can have younger agents taking leads and doing more of the prospecting. You can get there. But for most people, personalizing your sales process is the number one thing you're going to do. You can get caught up in social media and online presence and videos and whatever you want. But if you stop doing prospecting, your business is going to contract, likely. You on the phone and how you talk to people and how you build a relationship is the magic in your business. That is the magic. That is one of the things that got you probably to where you are now. So a lot of people say, okay, I'm so busy working with clients that I want to outsource sales. And what happens is now they have to be a sales manager. And they're not ready for that, most people. Being a sales manager is really hard, especially when you're really busy and it's not your only job. So you got to recognize you have tons of things going on. If you're going to try to bring someone else in and have them replicate what you do, it's very hard to do that. What you can do instead is when you sign a listing agreement, automate everything that happens after. Try and automate the process or operationalize the process, getting signs in the ground, getting staging done, getting everything you need to prepare that house for sale. And you can do that by having assistants and having people on your team that do that kind of work. But you're the rainmaker. You need to be the one bringing in the business and being focused on that. So don't outsource your sales right away. And to add to prioritizing sales, I think the big thing here is knowing what to say and how to say it, knowing how to move the conversation along, becoming a master of asking the right open-ended questions, knowing how to move the conversation along. It's important to date the lead. Don't just go in for the kill shot. You need to date the lead, keep it casual, build a relationship with them, right? And you need to have tools in your toolkit to do this. And this is where a lot of people fail. So the biggest thing is know your scripts, know your questions, know how to move the conversation along, know how to schedule a Zoom call with someone, follow up with them with a video, know why it's important to always have a future appointment on the calendar or a future action item. Obviously, you know, I've talked about a lot here. This isn't everything, but these are, I think, the core things of how to build a winning real estate business. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content. And guys, if you're in the new home niche and you are a new home specialist, definitely reach out to us at agentlaunch.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video.